One of our candidates could not be here tonight, Tiffany Taylor. So if you have not scanned this QR code yet to ask a question, you might want to go ahead and scan it real quick because we are going to play a video that she has sent us.
Good evening, District 3. My name is Tiffany Taylor, and I serve as your County Commissioner here in Athens-Clarke County. One of the most important fights we took on this last term was ensuring that development benefits everyone, not just a selected few. That's why I strongly advocated for the 70-30 split for the revenue of the Classic Center Arena project, ensuring that 70% of the TAD revenues supported East Athens, our district, because growth should uplift the people who are already here. I also fought to secure a 100% allocation of pilot funds from the core development directly into the East Downtown TAD. That means real reinvestment right here where it's needed most into infrastructure, housing, and opportunity. And when it comes to housing, we didn't just talk, we act. By building strong partnerships with organizations like Athens Land Trust, Habitats for Humanity, the Housing Authority, and East Athens Development Corporation, we've created more than 20 affordable housing units in this community. That means 20 families with a place to call home, and we're not stopping there.
Awesome. I'll now welcome our candidates to the stage. And then I'm going to introduce our moderator for tonight. Mark Handy is a native of Athens. He's currently in Lithonia, Georgia. He's the founder of the D.L. Handy Foundation. I literally had to write all this down. I was like, hold on, this is a lot he got going on. He's a financial analyst at Emory, and he works part-time at the Jackson McWhirst Funeral Home. Ovita may have to leave early.
Thank you, Michelle.
One more thing, I'm going to ask all of you to keep your remarks to under 3 minutes. I think you can do that, right? Okay, great.
Let the candidates see. So we're going to start this off this evening. I hope you all can see me. If not, you can hear me, right? Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll start off with the housing sector. The first question, each candidate will answer this question as well. I believe you have 3 minutes total. So the first question we have for tonight, how will you address the housing crisis in Athens in a way that prevents the displacement of our marginalized folks? And we can start off, I guess, on this end, Mr. Davenport.
All right. So one of so first I would like to say I think Athens-Clarke County has done a pretty decent job in when it comes to affordable housing. We have invested $70 million plus in affordable housing since I became a commissioner, and we have over 1,000 units. I'm sorry, the pollen is killing me, so my voice may go out. But we invested over 1,000 units, and that's apartments, 1 bedroom, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, as well as homes for affordable housing. And one of the best ways to continue that progress is to continue to look at ways to policies that we can develop and work with our state and our local developers in ensuring that we continue to build more affordable housing.
Thank you.
Affordable housing. A lot of people look at affordable housing, or it should be family housing instead of affordable housing. We need the people that stay here in Athens to have somewhere to stay. They work, they keep Athens going, and at the prices that they're paying now just for rent is astronomical. There's a lot of times that there are different ways that we could do this. One is by letting local builders start back building again, and not just outside entities leave our money inside the county instead of taking it out. That's about what I can say about housing as far as right now.
Thank you.
Okay, when it comes to affordable housing, first we have to find out what is affordable housing and who it's for. There are some policies that can be put into place that could help with the affordable housing as far as, like I said, finding out what is affordable housing. And I always like to give the example as in some districts, $500,000 home may not be feasible in I'm going to say my district, District 3, depending on where it's located. So we need to find out what is the, who is the affordable housing for, and find out policies and implement those policies that can help. And also we can connect the families who need the affordable housing with the resources to obtain that.
Affordable housing is really my pet project for this community. I've been working to address affordable housing for the last 5 years and found some very interesting things about some of the comments and responses. Our housing survey, which we did in 2023, it gave a blueprint on how we should address the housing situation. That was in 2023. We have just started to dig into some of the recommendations. We will be voting on the Housing Trust Fund, which was the first thing that the study said. Housing Trust Fund, build that, create that. That was said in 2023. We have appointed 5 people to serve on the Land Bank Authority, another recommendation from 2023. Now, I know that you'll say, well, why is everything taking so slow? I'm gonna just be honest with you, it's not because of me, because I have been pushing and pushing and pushing. And everything that comes before this commission, and I love the energy that people have, but everything that comes before this commission, you need a majority vote. We have over 7 housing studies that came out in our GIG program. Why would we have 7 housing studies since 2018, and we're still talking about a housing problem? So I do think it's systematic. I do appreciate the folk that have come out and spoke up about affordable housing, because I do believe when the community gets up and speaks up, it does move policy.
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Smith, and I thank the Athens-Clarke County Democrats for inviting me to participate in the forum today. When I think of housing, it's a very complex situation. There's many different compartments and components when you think of housing, affordable housing. And within our campaign itself, we are trying to find the answers that we can share with our constituents, so that they will be better prepared when they are looking for affordable housing. The federal government says that 30% of your gross income, if you pay more than that, then you are getting out of the realm of being able to afford this particular house that you have selected. One of the things that we found was necessary to do is to prepare our constituents about a budget-friendly option. That means being able to share with a potential buyer and prepare them financially, so when they're walking into a lending institution, they will have their paperwork in order for the lending and financial institution to understand what this person has to offer, what they have available, and if they will be able to obtain this particular residence that they have found that they are interested in. Athens-Clarke County has a lot of different programs. They have programs. And being able to understand and communicate that to your constituents is very important. It is very nice to hear our commissioner, Ms. Thornton, states that there are different programs, there's funds that are available. But we need that. So before today, I would like to have had that before today. But it's important to be able to educate your constituents about things that are available to them so that they will be able to be a more well-prepared buyer going in the future. And being able to answer a question like affordable housing, there's just too many different components to dissect in the complexity of what it actually is. Because in the United States, real estate, which is housing, land, and automobile are some of the highest ticket items that you're going to purchase. Thank you. A little heavy, isn't it?
Hi, my name's Barry Irwin. I used to live in the Winterville area a long time ago, but not in the city limits. So, affordable housing comes from a lot of different places. First of all, to have more affordable housing, we need to have more housing. We can have a lot more housing if we weren't one of 2 countries in the entire world using the International Building Code, which is designed to fill the pockets of the builders. There's all kinds of studies out there where people build alternative housing, plastered straw bale houses, and other things. There's a big house in Oconee County where they got it approved, but there's so many different ways that you can build a house that violates the International Building Code, but most people don't have the money to submit the studies that are required, such as converting an old grain silo, which I've read about several of those. Secondly, and I know that some of the candidates in other districts have been talking about gentrification in their district. When the value of the property goes up so much that the people who reside there cannot afford to do the maintenance and pay the taxes, because the tax assessor just comes up with a figure and decides that every house, every lot is worth X amount of money regardless of where it's located. You'd be surprised to learn that over 200 people per year typically file for a hearing before the Board of Equalization, the Board of Equalization, to my knowledge, has never followed the law and allowed people to be sworn in, required to be sworn in. And you should attend some of those hearings if you like. They're open to the public. You'll be shocked at the little amount of belief that they want you to put them on a pedestal, but those decent citizens who are here and ignore 99% of what the property owner says and just rubber stamps what the tax assessor says. It's just ridiculous. We've got serious problems in this county. It's going to take serious people to resolve them. And one of the ways to solve the problems is not to spend $1 million+ bringing more people into downtown, which is a food desert. Pretty soon we're going to have a new grocery store at the Varsity building. There's my 3 minutes. But it'll be within walking distance of the Bethel Homes area, but I don't know. I've seen people walking on Danielsville Road where there are no sidewalks carrying their groceries, and I've seen other people, but the average person is not going to be able to walk to a new Publix, buy 4 bags of groceries, and carry them back downtown. I see my time has expired, and I went over a little. Thanks a lot for coming out tonight.
Thank you all. So that's going to go to the session of environmental. So the next question we're going to start. As a commissioner, would you prioritize environmental protections in your decision making? Feel free to give specifics on clean air and water, as well as renewable energy. So we're gonna start this side again. Let me need to repeat the question.
So absolutely. Guess what, folks? Guess what? There's only one Earth. There's no other place that we can go to. We don't have the technology to go there. And so we got to protect what we have. My parents, we grew up on a farm, so they taught me all about sustainability, how to survive on my own. And ironically, even, I'm an 80s baby, back then my parents were recycling. The reason why we recycled is because my cousins, they had a landfill place next to them. So the more we recycled, the less we put next to that landfill. And so that has instilled me and grew into me and my brothers and sisters to understand how important our environment is. Not just the water, because I like the fish. You don't want a 3-eyed fish. Y'all remember The Simpsons, 3-eyed fish? But I like the fish. I like the play in the water. I want to, breathable air. The more we mess up our environment, the worse our health becomes, the worse our livelihood becomes. And it's just this reciprocal effect of nonstop negativity. And all we have to do is just do our part when it comes to how we buy our food, where we buy our food, how we buy our clothes, consumerism. I can go on all day and night, but the most important thing is that, you have to, every last one of us have to protect what we have and appreciate what we have, because if we don't, tomorrow it could be gone and then it's not going to be replenished.
Read the question again.
So the question is, as a commissioner, would you prioritize environmental protections in your decision making? Feel free to give specifics on clean air and water as well as renewable energy.
Yes. Yes. Well, there's so many ways. A lot of people don't look at how we can use the same stuff that we already have. Recycle ingredients can be made into other things. We can use those along with the people that are in each neighborhood to help recycle, which will cut back on our CO2 growth. You want to take and use all that stuff that you can as many times as you can. Even far as using some of the recycled stuff to build houses. There are different methods that you can use, and we're not taking advantage of those things in order to grow as a community. And as far as our air concerned, I've noticed lately here in the last week or two, a couple of weeks, that we have a haze over our sky. And I have never seen it before before the data center opened. But right now, every morning at a certain time, we have a big film that's over Athens, and nobody has addressed it yet. And you can go on to the next question.
Prioritizing the environment, so when we talk about prioritizing, when we have different companies come in to our county, we have to hold them accountable, because over in District 3 at night we see it's a cloud coming out of the quarry. We don't know what's going on, but it's a cloud that comes out. So that in itself is a detriment to the environment, but we have to hold people accountable. And how we do that, like with the fleets of cars, we can use electric when feasible if it's not going to cause a detriment to our budget, because we still have to stay within budget because things do cost. But when it comes to the environment, everybody has to be held accountable and do their part.
I'm just going to bullet this. Recycling is huge, and I don't think that we take advantage or educate. I know at Athens Flats, they're starting a recycle, class to help the new residents know how important recycling is. That's elementary stuff, but it's very, very, very important. So for that operational director to really want to get real people involved in recycling, I think that's huge. The other thing is the renewable energy. I guess it was 2023, we passed the renewable energy ordinance. I do think that was a step in the right direction. My last bullet point is what Ms. Tammie brought up about the quarry. If you do not live around the quarry, or if you do not have a connection to the quarry, you don't care about. I can't say you don't care, but the quarry is a huge issue as far as water and water supply. Right now, I think we share with Bear Creek, is that right? We share with Bear Creek. If there's a drought, that quarry is going to be very important. But it also has an impact of the residents that live around there. And usually when people talk about the quarry, it's the people who live around there. It's not folk like this gentleman or that young lady, maybe because you just didn't know about it. But the quarry is a huge concern as far as environmental issues are concerned. And we do have the data center situation. We just passed the ordinance Tuesday night to modify what happened to never happen again. So those are all environmental issues. And I'm going to say it again. Most of the time when things get moving, it's because the community starts speaking up.
Thank you, Barry.
Well, I couldn't hear Terry before.
I think the question was if would we prioritize environmental issues? And my answer would be absolutely yes. And I could not say that even stronger, because we are tethered to this rock, Earth, which is spinning on its axis sideways. But here, we don't feel the gravitational pull that is going on. Everything that we do, I said that to say this, everything that we do is codependent on our environment, the quality of life, our health and safety. When we ignore the signs, the data, the information that tells us what we need to be aware of, then we are doing more damage to ourselves than we want to recognize. And when we think of environmental issues, it is part of a limb of your body. It's like the trees that filters the air. Everything has a purpose. And we have to be able to bring all of those entities together and be able to produce something that will be beneficial to each and every one of us. And this is another one of those complex questions that you don't have enough time to really delve into it. But I will say this, I respect data, I respect the scientists, I respect the doctors, I respect the opinions of those people who have given their life to get education to be able to share this and share it with others. And it is our responsibilities as good stewards to be able to make sound decisions based upon facts. Thank you.
I want to say, maybe I didn't hear the question right. Environmental issues is one of my priorities. And my points were why it's my priority, and those 5 points I gave you, that's why it's a priority.
Thank you. Let me just say that more than 20 years ago, I saw a movie called Meet the Truth. And about 18 months after I saw that movie, I went full vegan and have been vegan since. And the movie is about how eating meat and transportation consumption is the largest single cause of climate change. Now, you could stand around Athens anytime, and every 3 or 4 weeks or every other week, you'll have these windstorms that never used to happen. And we've ruined this planet for the generations that are coming after us. And I know it's my generation, my parents' generation, 2 generations behind me based on my age. But anybody who would like to have anything that I referenced in any of these meetings, I'd be happy to send you a link to that. But there is no planet B. You know, you may have a plan B for stuff. There is no planet B. This is a visual aid of something that Clarke County employees left on the easement. Trash. Every time a county employee goes out and works on the easement, typically they leave trash behind. I've seen it 8 times. And I've only seen 8 places where they worked. That's 100%. There's no accountability. No. We had when Scott Freeman was chief of police here, they had a couple of little Priuses that were marked as police cars. Once he was fired, where'd those cars go? I don't know. It's easy to talk about, you know, the climate and what needs to be done, but most people are just think it's beyond their ability to do anything. And I think the county government has a responsibility to suggest much more than just by 2035 or by 2020 being solar and energy free. I think the county government has a duty and a responsibility to teach people how they can themselves minimize the effects on the environment. I forgot to look at what time I started, so I'm going to assume I've been talking for at least 3 minutes. So, thank you. If you want the website, the email address is in my flagpole ad. You send me a request and I'll just send you, no matter what district, you know, anything that I mentioned, a link to it. Thank you.
Thank you all for those answers to the question. So next, I'm going to go to the topic of public safety. The mayor and commission approved the real-time crime center. Some residents have concerns about surveillance. Do you have any opposition to the tools that the crime center is utilizing? And I will read the question again for you.
The police department.
The mayor and commission approved the real-time crime center. Some residents have concerns about surveillance. Do you have any opposition to the tools that the crime center is utilizing? So we'll start this time to my far right, and we'll start with Mr. Beard.
Okay, let me just say that as a civil libertarian, it's a little offensive that we have all those cameras downtown. But those cameras can be a benefit if they were made available to the public. Now, what I understand that when that passed, they fixed it so nobody could actually see it other than the police department. And you could, if a mugging or something happened, and you let them know within 3 days. But as far as I'm concerned, if someone is living upstairs and the camera can show in their apartment, then the property owner should put a placard inside mentioning that. If you're standing in your house butt naked and somebody walks by on the street and you got your windows open, your curtains open, they're going to see you. It's the same thing. And who knows, some of those young co-eds might want to do something. But I know this. There was an event that I saw not too long ago where a gentleman was talking about how he was watching the cameras at Key West, the southernmost point in the continental United States, and he saw what appeared to be an attempted rape going on, and he was in Massachusetts, and he called down to the police department in Key West, and they went out and stopped the thing. So I have a problem with surveillance, I know it's necessary. It's going to get worse. It's going to get, eventually we'll probably be just like England. But if you're going to have it, then share it. Because if the idea is to solve crimes, then let people sitting at home bored watch it like reality TV. That's my position. And thanks a lot.
Well, Barry, you know, I wasn't expecting that. But I got, you know, that is one of the most honest replies that anyone probably could have given. And it came from Mr. Barry Irwin. But, and Barry, I'm gonna tell you, you really shook me on that one. But I ain't gonna get off track. I have, in reference to the question, I have been a student with the ACC 101 Gov. And it was a program that was administered by Athens-Clarke County government to give us an insight on how our government runs. We had an opportunity to visit all of the major departments of Athens-Clarke County. One of the departments was the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. And I will tell you, you will be truly proud of what they're doing in Athens-Clarke County Police Department. We had an opportunity to meet the department heads. We went over the 911 system, and one of the things that was there was the crime center that was just newly renovated and updated and implemented. And I was proud of knowing that there are people who are looking out for our benefit, and I don't have a problem with them observing our comings and goings and other people in public spaces. And if it is used for what it is intended to be used for, I think that it will be beneficial for the citizens of our county. So to answer your question, I don't have a problem with the crime center doing their surveillance in the public corridor of protecting the citizens of Athens-Clarke County. And hopefully, if a person who is looking to do some harm or something that is unscrupulous, maybe by them knowing that they are being watched, that it will deter them. Thank you.
I was very leery of cameras like anybody else. Probably don't want to be speeding down the street and get your tag caught. But the last two unliving killings were both solved very quickly because of this new system. Folk are in jail. Folk are some deceased, but both of those cases probably would have been solved, but I don't think it would have been solved as quickly. I had a gentleman that came to my house because I have a camera at my house, and he was in an accident, and he wanted to see, did my camera catch the accident, which it didn't. We are living in such a cruel world now. Good people are the ones that are usually suffering because of not so good people. And I do think the cameras are designed to take care of good people, not to spy into your bedroom and all that. Now, it may happen, down the road, but this is such a new thing. Even when we talk about the, what's those things that fly? Drones. The drones, and they have use. They have use. So it's about being intentional, working with integrity. And it's a shame that we have gotten to a place that we got to have cameras other than, like I said, speeding down the street and getting your tag. But there's a lot of bad things going on. And these cameras have proven already to be beneficial.
Do I oppose the RTCC? I do not. I took the Citizens Police Academy a few years ago, and we did get an opportunity to tour the 911 center. And at that time, the city was highly surveillance thin. And I'm sure now with the RTCC, it's even more. But I don't oppose it because it's there for a reason. And the reason is to protect us. Now, if there's somebody who is looking at other people's windows and doing the wrong thing with the RTCC system, they need to be dealt with that. But regarding the citizens and their protection, yes, I do not oppose the RTCC.
Y'all don't mind if I stand up, do you? I'm not used to sitting down and talking to people. Being a former law enforcement officer, they are useful. Cameras are, but they also have a way of being invasive. We don't want to you wouldn't want anybody to infringe on your rights. Also, the study of these cameras that they're talking about now have been used as generational, or not generational, but the way to generate income for the state and city. Because the least little thing you do out there in your car, you will get a ticket for. It will be in the mail, just like when they first started the camera systems off. Now it's a little bit different. They can look inside the car. If you're on your phone, you will get a ticket and everything will change. In some ways, it shouldn't be able to look into your car. If you're doing something in there right then, fine. But if you caught doing it, you're going to get a ticket for it. So in some ways, no. But as long as it's used in a way that it benefits people as far as safety, there's no problem with it. But looking in somebody's window, all right, where do we cut it off at?
Thank you. So I'm not a big fan of Big Brothers, but I do support the Real-Time Crime Center. I think it's a great investment in our community. They're not in your neighborhoods. They're not, outside your bedrooms. They're mostly in the most populated areas and intersections throughout Athens. I do have concerns about who has access to that data because, you don't want just any federal agency or entity to access that data and use it in their own way or their own right, but I do support the Real-Time Crime Center. We had an incident that happened downtown 2 days later. The perpetrator was caught. We had several incidents that happened around town or downtown where the police was like, okay, I could just watch the cameras, and next day the suspect apprehended. So, and they're only going after crimes, like major crimes. And, if you're texting on your phone, they're not gonna come after you for that, but because I'll be in jail by now again. So, Lord forgive me, I'm trying to do my best, but yeah, it's there for a reason, and they're mostly in the highly visible areas around town where somebody is going to be watching anyway. But yeah, I do support the Real-Time Crime Center, but I just have some concerns about who has access to that, and I trust that our police chief, Jerry Salters, is doing a good job in making sure that our privacies are, because he's a good guy, making sure our privacies are maintained.
Thank you all for those answers. Our next section, we're going to go to talking about the budget of Athens-Clarke County. So what are your top 3 budget priorities? We'll start with this side.
It's an easy one. So this is budget season for the current commissioners, and whoever wins in May, God bless it, because the budget season is literally 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, back and forth with staff, back and forth with the mayor, back and forth with community leaders. It's a very hectic and I say all that to say that it's not something that we take lightly. It's just something that is very time consuming and very daunting. My top priority is to continue the efforts in infrastructure because we are lagging behind on our pipes, on our roads, and we need to replenish not replenish, but we have some HVAC issues, we got some roofing issues. Second, secondly, it's housing. I think we're doing some good job in housing, but we also need to continue to support our nonprofits and support our nonprofits like Athens Land Trust, Habitat for Humanity. And third, if we're doing 1, 2, 3, of course, it'd be sustainability. Whatever we do, whatever we build, whatever we promote, it needs to be sustainable. We need to stop sending money to big oil. We got to stop sending all this money that's going to hurt generations down the road. So infrastructure, and trust me, infrastructure is failing in Athens. There's a lot of bad stuff that's happening, but infrastructure, housing, and sustainability.
Okay. Budget. Being a victim of the budget a few times, as I worked for Clarke County, there's years that we went without raises. So, and you could see stuff going on and working and being fixed, but the employees weren't getting paid. So a lot of times I wonder exactly what happens with that budget. Does it stay on track or does it get kicked off? A lot of times you would, just like at unification, there's supposed to be sidewalks all over Athens. Well, sidewalks are not all over Athens. They're supposed to be in neighborhoods, down the roadways. We still hadn't got those sidewalks. So those are funds that were taken out. What happened to the budget? So is a new way to look at everything. And we need to take and implement all that we can in a different way. We're trying to fix an old problem the same old way. We need to look at new ways to fix and repair the system.
My top three budget priorities. The first one, as Mr. Davenport mentioned, is infrastructure. In District 3, there's a major problem for us. In Hallmark, that community itself needs to be added to the sewer. And I've talked to some people in Dunlap and in Winterville regarding the sewer, them being on still being on septic and needs to be connected to the city sewer. The second would be housing. Housing is needed in Clarke County, and especially in District 3, affordable housing, that is. So that'll be the next thing. And the third would be, as we stated, environmental stuff. As far as, the bleeds, electric, things of that nature.
My top three is property taxes, and I don't know if anybody kept up with the legislative session this year, but property taxes, income taxes paid a huge conversation and they passed some things that will impact homestead taxes. They did pass some things, but it's not going to be as harsh as we thought it was going to be on us, because if property taxes are alleviated or even our income taxes, how does the local government function? Where do we find those other dollars from? So taxes is one thing that I think that the average person, they just write that check and groan, but it's a very serious problem. The last 2 years, I think we have been able to, we've had commissioners that want to increase property taxes, and folk want to see where their dollars are going. So, but we've been able to hold tight, and I expect that even though we're going to be in a tight budget year this year, property taxes will, it'll be a discussion, but I do not support any property tax increase at this time. That would be my first, and of course, my second issue that usually is my first is housing. We should not have had to go through the bureaucracy that we have gone through in the last 4 to 5 years. We have money in our housing fund. We put more money in last year in the housing fund. We're not talking about the money that's coming from core or anything else. We have budgeted money for the housing fund. We're going to have some requests that are going to come from some of our nonprofit housing folk. I don't know how that's going to work out right now because things are higher, so it's going to be some legitimate requests. But housing is going to be my issue probably forever. Now, my third one, I will go with environmental. I don't think that environmental issues are discussed enough. I know that in my community, communities of color, we do not talk about environmental issues, but it's in my community that you have the most of the health ills, most of the sicknesses, most of the toxic byproducts. I am so glad that we found out that Pitter Road had toxic wells. And we were able, but that's been going on since I've been there. My 3 minutes are up. There. But you got my 3, right?
The topic was budget.
Correct.
And when we think of budget, we think about Athens-Clarke County budget. Athens-Clarke County approved a $201.6 million budget. And as a new commissioner, what I would like to be able to do is, one, we need to be able to maintain our core services with our budget. Athens-Clarke County as a whole may have a different priority than District 9 because, as it has been stated before, we're still dealing with infrastructure issues in District 9. We are still dealing with the unification of services when the government was unified in 1990-91. So there are a lot of services that we are still in need of that needs to continue to be advocated upon in spite of our budget to operate Athens-Clarke County. But we have to maintain the core services, fire, police, government employees, workers for the county and the city, that Athens-Clarke County as a whole. So in Athens-Clarke County, infrastructure is very important because people need to have sidewalks. And people walking in 3 feet of growth, and then they have to get out of that grass and walk along the roadway is a safety issue. So we need safety issues here in District 9. We need our infrastructure dealt with in District 9. We have flooding in District 9. We have areas where our storm systems are overpowered by the water runoff that is coming in District 9. We have a transportation issue in District 9. We have citizens that are having to walk because the bus route only goes to a certain point at the tip of District 9, and they have to walk approximately 2 miles, depending on how far they're going, within the district to get home. If they need to go to downtown Athens, the connectability of the sidewalks and the bridge is another safety issue in District 9. Now that may be a DOT issue, Georgia Department of Transportation, GOT. That may be an issue with the bridge because I served on the user T-Splosh committee for 2023, and we received an $8.4 million. Oh, it's over with 3 minutes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to discuss these three issues. First, I think the county government could cut a lot of waste. There's all kind of stuff that is wasted, and I don't want to go into too much detail on that because I am long-winded in case you haven't noticed. But I think accountability for employees and just learning to live a frugal lifestyle in the government. I think there's just so much waste that I just don't want to get on that tonight. I think the government should quit buying properties and taking real estate off the tax rolls. I don't know why the water department took over a bank building downtown. You know, and I'm going to go into my third point here, even though I've only talked for less than a minute. I think that thinking outside the box is an important role for all commissioners, not just in District 9. You know, realistically, the commissioner is not just a commissioner for any district. That's right. Everything relates to the whole county. You know, people have discussed sidewalks. It's really expensive to put an 8-foot sidewalk down. But on Chase Street and another street, I can't remember which one, they have these 2-foot square pavers. You could put those down so easily, and if you find out somebody is on a wheelchair using that, you could go back in and put another set down there. There's so much that needs to be done. I was here in Clarke County when at least one of the prior attempts to consolidate was lost. They made all these promises to people to get voting, and they also changed the 2 prior or 3 prior attempts. Each group had to vote in favor. The county outside of the district, outside of the city limits, and the citizens in the city. They changed that for the last one. It was just going to be the county as a whole. But getting back to thinking about outside the box, I've heard some people in another district discussing that the mall should have been considered to be purchased by the county to be used for homeless residences. Why don't we move the courthouse out there? Courthouse doesn't need to be downtown. You have room out there to have a stage like this in the theater. You could put a police department out there. There's all kinds of stuff. You could run buses from downtown straight out there, stop at a grocery store or 2 on the way and go back. I mean, there's just so much. And let me just say this. If you elect me, I can't put in any of these things by myself. You take 5 more people, and if the mayor ain't on your side, it takes 6 more people to go along with you to get something through. And so, thanks so much. 3 minutes and 80 seconds.
Okay, so we're down to the end. So for each of you, we can get through maybe like 1 minute, less than 1 minute. Okay. So this question, student-based. Some residents feel that the university's enrollment increase is a constraint to local resources, while others believe that students are essential to Athens' economy and the culture. How do you plan to navigate that tension?
I'm just going to start because I'm going to ease up out of here. We do, first of all, let me say that the university has a new enrollment policy, and it needs to be rolled out. It doesn't make no sense for a few people to know about that, but it's going to pull back, it's going to slow down enrollment to help with the population. Second thing is that we have no relationship with the University of Georgia. We have no relationship, I'll just say it. We need to have a relationship with the University of Georgia on a regular basis. We build student housing. University of Georgia is not building student housing. So there's a gap there. So I do think that building our we should even look at, in some cities, they have what they call, like we have the downtown district, the employment, we got districts downtown. We could even create a student district. I have brought that up. It hasn't gone nowhere. The students bring resources here. The university do bring, but they also take up a lot of resources. So why don't we work together and build that relationship, because we do not have a good relationship at this point. Now, I will say this. I'm going to give some props. Our new county manager is doing a good job with building that relationship. He's doing a good job. So, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Next in line. Okay, you first. Who's next?
Y'all don't be shy.
Come on, split.
Okay, I'll go. How would I handle the student tension? The students, they're not going anywhere. So there should be policies put in place, and I'm not anti-student, but they are temporary. Some do come and some do stay, but policies should be put into place as to, like with housing or apartments or things of that nature. It should be some type of guidance where there are codes where they should not be living. So first, it should be on the city to make sure those codes are enforced where there are students living in residential areas. That should be taken care of. And then that will help with the students in the neighborhoods. But yeah, that's 1 minute.
Thank you. 40 seconds. Okay, next.
Okay, I can go next. Student tension here in Athens-Clarke County and the University of Georgia, I think that it was said so eloquently by Ms. Ovita, is that the university currently, there's no relationship between UGA and Athens-Clarke County. And that is, in my opinion, a little absurd. The University of Georgia is one of the most powerful institutions, learning institution. People come from all over the world to learn at that facility. And it's beyond me, because I'm limited with knowing, as to why we don't have a relationship with the university. They have so many resources there. They have so many bright minds at the university that doing a collaboration, we would be able to solve a lot of our issues just right here. Olympian can throw a disc from City Hall and hit the arches. That's how close we are. So why is it so difficult for the president of the University of Georgia and the Athens-Clarke County mayor to come together and form a relationship? I think it's important. I think we will see it. Okay, time is up. Thank you.
Right.
Go ahead, sure. Let me start my little thing here. Okay, so I disagree with both my esteemed colleagues running for the seat. I didn't think Commissioner Thornton was all that eloquent. I don't think that Clarke County furnishes any student housing. It's all open market. I think she was trying to talk about SROs, single room occupancy, like the whole long-term hotels, but she didn't touch on that. I think to the extent there be any kind of communication between the University of Georgia and Clarke County government, it's a two-way street, and if they're not interested, then we're not interested. We don't need to furnish for them. So many of the students come from the Metro Atlanta. There's been a study that something like 80% of the new students, this was 10 years ago, but I'm assuming I see all these young ladies driving cars in Metro Atlanta. 80% come from North Atlanta. They got plenty of money, but that's just the way it is. It's not going to get any more than that. Thank you.
All right. Well, man, that's. Whew, Jesus Christ. Okay, so We have a building relationship with the University of Georgia. University of Georgia is its own institution. They're governed by the state. They can pretty much do whatever they want. We do have a working relationship with them where people, I get a Christmas card every year from Jerry Moorhead. I send him one. He sends me one. He invites me to football game. He invites other commissioners to football game. We have to stop the rhetoric of that UGA's anti-Athens. They want to work with us, and they're willing to work with us. We just got commissioners who say some very odd and weird things that hurt relationships. They helped us with our T-SPLOS. They even have suggestions on our budget. So it's just UGA's here to stay. They're a state entity. They're governed by the state. We just got to build a much better relationship and have better, just understand that they're here to stay.
UGA. All right. With UGA being here for decades, centuries, there's no reason for one person in Athens that wanted to get a higher education not to be able to go there. Why can't University of Georgia offer programs to Athenians so they can get a better education to help the county grow, so everybody can be affordable to stay anywhere they need to? Yes, it needs to be definitely a different perspective of UGA. Do I agree with everything? No. I don't, because I've seen it over the years. I've been here since the 60s, and UGA was never for an Athenian. It was for everybody else that came from out of town.
Thank you. Thank you all for answering those questions tonight. So now we're going to turn it into your hands. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Hello, friends. Give me just 1 second. Get this back on here. All right. I think we have to. Oh, I did want to say one thing. UGA and CCSD do have multiple partnerships together. I know because I was one of them. But in terms of like city government as a whole, it needs to be worked on. So we do have time for about 2 of these submitted questions. I am going to kind of merge a few of them together to try to cover as much as possible. So the first one discusses like housing developments on the east side that leave no green space, in addition to other developments that are on that side of town. And statistics say that big businesses and bigger developments do more harm than collective good for individual citizens. So what are you prepared to do in regards to building codes and implementing environmental constraints for business license? And that can start really go down.
That was a very loaded question.
I know, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to do as many as possible. So you can, I can just do one of them. So the statistics say, or stats say, that big businesses and big developments that eliminate green space specifically do more harm than the collective good of individual citizens. What are you prepared to do in regards to building codes and environmental constraints for developer licenses?
Okay, it's a good one. So that's one of the reasons why currently, we do have codes to stop big development from destroying our green space. We have a green belt in Athens that we like to protect that's hugs the surrounding counties. Hugs the surrounding outside of our county, where we want to protect that green space and stop big development from developing high polluting things. Also, we have a tree canopy whenever, and it is determined by zone, where you have to have a certain tree canopy when it comes to the development. There's water quality, there's air quality. There's a lot of current constraints that we have now. Of course, we can enhance them. I asked the mayor to send to committee our tree canopy ordinance so we can revise that. But currently, we do have mechanisms to to give back to the community as much as big development takes.
I think that most big business should be shut down as far as our green space. If it's not used for family or housing, which you don't have to stack everybody on top of each other. We can always take and spread out the space in between each other and still live together, just like most of the neighborhoods growing up in New York. We always had a park at the end of the block to go to. These kids nowadays don't even have a park to go to. They have to go 5 or 6 miles down the road or on the other side of town in order to go to one park. Well, what happened to the neighborhoods? We need to get back to being a neighborhood again and stop trying to be a big business.
Okay, what we can do, we can develop policies that will hold the developers accountable. So when I say that, when they apply for the development, if it's going to take up a certain amount of green space, it should be denied, because we're losing our community as it's been stated. And as far as the green space, so yes, developers should be held accountable and their application should be denied, because we are becoming a concrete city, and we don't have anywhere like it's been stated. The parks are gone, and the ones that are gone that are still existing, they're not for everybody. I'm just going to be honest. But yeah, so the developers should be held accountable when they're developing their spaces, and the city should deny them if they're taking up too much green space.
You know, that's a complex question, and it requires time to develop it and to really look at what it's actually requiring. But on the surface, it is the responsibility of Athens-Clarke County to make sure that any development that comes to Athens-Clarke County falls within certain rules and regulations that have already been set forth. We have to make sure that the developments that are coming here are strategically in line with our future use plans. Our developments that are coming here, they need to be able to make sure that whatever developments that they are in alignment with our overall plan. So we can't necessarily hold someone accountable for their development. That's what they want to do. But I think that within the development, we can require so much green space to be left alone in their development. And I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'm not quite sure what it was, but you can get the gist of it. I don't know if it was General Sherman, or one of the different generals that was marching through, and they was burning everything down in sight. But when they got to Madison County, it was so beautiful. The tree canopies, I guess the antebellum homes and all of that, he didn't want to burn it down because it was so beautiful. Athens-Clarke County has a beautiful tree canopy. We have so many unique places and spaces. We have to be good stewards of those things for our next generation so that we can protect our city. And I think I may have gotten off target, but I think you may know where I'm coming from with that. Thank you.
Let me just correct that with regard to why Sherman didn't burn Madison, Georgia, Morgan County.
Okay.
So U.S. Senator asked that it be protected.
It wasn't because he felt that it was a beautiful place. Well, that was a fallacy that got off.
So I wasn't exactly sure that I heard the question correctly, but it sounds like to me that the question asked for how would you protect green space from large developments? Well, development is going to build whatever they're going to build, whether it's a housing community or a factory or whatever, on the space that's available. That's also called sprawl for those who want a 20-year-old word or a 40-year-old word. Then that's what they're going to do. So you mentioned that the code, the housing code, or the building code should require so much to be set aside, and that's what they're doing. But it's a contradiction in terms to say, we're gonna allow development, but we're not gonna allow you to tear down any trees, because that's where they're gonna build unless they tear down other people's houses, and we've already gone through that. And that's what they do every time there's an Olympics. They tear down old people's houses, poor people's houses, and put in some gymnasium or whatever. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I think we have time for one more of these. And I think one of you all have already touched on this, but I want to get all of y'all the opportunity to. What is your stance on increasing the frequency of local bus routes and bus stops, particularly for those who work downtown, below on the outskirts of the city, or who work overnight shifts?
I'll start. So this body, the current body, we just voted last October to, I know people don't like the word consultant, but we are, just a brief history, our transit director, he did an internal study. He asked the community about what they felt about transit. He didn't get a lot of good responses. Well, a lot of people didn't respond to it, so we hired a consultant. So last October or August of last year, we hired a consultant to actually do a comprehensive study at looking at not only just our bus routes, expansion of bus route, the times of our bus route, where do people need them, cooperating with our schools, cooperating with UGA, and one caveat of staying fare free. They're gonna look at that as well. But so we are in the process right now of getting that study back that's gonna look at all those things, and hopefully, but more importantly, we need y'all to get on the bus and start riding it.
We don't have a bus out here in Winterville, so it's kind of hard to get on the bus and ride it.
I was just being facetious.
If they had to put your sidewalks in, you would at least be able to walk over there. But doing years of working in transportation, there are places and ways you can route through Athens that the buses could use now. They don't utilize all those spots. They could, you can drive if you can drive a school bus in there, you can drive a city bus in there. So why can't they just ring them route all the way out and then take them back? If you want people to ride a bus, then you at least need to provide it for them. And also, the times that those buses that routes, the people that work early morning, they have to get an Uber now to get to work in order to get to work, and then take the bus back. And that's to me, that doesn't make sense. So we need to expand the bus and the time schedules.
Yes. As my resident of Winterville stated, the bus doesn't even come out here, and there are places within the city limit that the bus doesn't go. So yes, they need to expand the city bus routes and places as to where they go. As far as the timing, I said I'm on the T-Splice with Mr. Vick, and they were talking about starting the buses a little earlier as well. So if they could expand the route as to where they go, and you're saying get on the bus and ride, but like she stated, if they don't come to them, they can't get on them. So I would advocate for the buses to go further out in this district.
Could you repeat that question?
Yes, I can. Pull it back up. Sorry. What is your stance on increasing the frequency of local bus routes and bus stops, particularly for those who work downtown but live on the outskirts of the city or who work overnight shifts?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm in agreement with increasing the frequency of our bus stops. Our particular district is in need of additional bus stops, so that we can, or so that the citizens can get downtown and be able to go back and forth to work and move throughout the city itself. But the challenge that we are facing with the cost is that is going to be a prohibited from making those additional expansion of the bus stop. So when you have an opportunity to get in office, then you will find out what the budget is. And if there's going to be any limitations, if there's no limitations with increasing the frequency of the bus route itself, and the additional stops, I have no objections to that whatsoever. But I think that we have to take in consideration the cost. And maybe one of the reasons why the bus stop hasn't come to Winterville is because of the cost of it. But those are things, that's not the reason.
We pay taxes.
We pay taxes out in District 9 as well, and one of the challenges that we have faced is that the equitable services that we have not been receiving, but we were told that it was because we didn't apply for those services, and that is the reason why District 9 didn't get the types of services that we are in need of out there in District 9. I'm not quite sure why Winterville has not gotten bus services. Like they state, they pay taxes. If they pay taxes, then they are entitled to have bus services. So if they have not had bus services, we need to examine the budget and find out why, if a citizen is paying for a particular services and they're not receiving it. And then that is a part of transparency and accountability, because citizens should not be paying into a general fund and not get the services that they're paying for.
Water and sewer.
2 minutes.
Water and sewer in Winterville or just here, or what are you saying?
I wasn't asking for it.
All right, we're gonna do Barry's response, and then we have this space until 8. Y'all can ask all the questions you want for 30 minutes.
Oh.
All right. With them in the crowd, not on stage.
Okay, first of all, this week's flagpole, Blake, you can correct me if it's this week's or last week. There's an article about whether or not the county government is going to be able to continue the fare-free bus routes. And first of all, you can think about it. Clarke County would have never, in government, would have never created a bus route. That's, the city of Athens created the bus routes, and Clarke County kept it going because they couldn't get rid of it. But ultimately, it all comes down to money. You can't just say, there's the money. It's got to come from somewhere. And it might very well be that there needs to be alternative fundraising methods where businesses are asked to sponsor a bus or whatever. I mean, you have to think outside the box. But people who can afford to pay, probably could pay $1. But, I looked at taking the bus a few times before it was free and decided, well, if I'm going to have to pay $1.75 or whatever it was, I don't remember exactly the price. That was mentioned in the article that it was $1.75. Oh, I'm over a minute already myself. Well, anyway, the point is people are going to make that analysis. If they're going to have to park here, park and ride, and then ride the bus and then still have to walk, they're probably not going to do it unless it's feasible and they need to exercise. I do believe that we ought to be a pedestrian priority community. We encourage people to walk for the environment, for their health, and for just general being out there. Thank you.
All right, let's give a round of applause to these candidates for coming out here today.